You know, actually, Judd was thinking of running against Mitch McConnell for that Senate seat in Kentucky. She decided not to. I could understand why after listening to some of the tapes that were recorded in McConnell's office. So apparently an insider in the McConnell campaign recorded the strategy sessions where they were talking about how they would destroy any political opponent, including Ashley Judd. First, we're going to hear from Mitch McConnell himself. Do them out. Must be a Kentucky thing. I don't know what that means. Okay, but apparently that means hit them hard. That applies to Ashley Judd and anyone else. So they're being proactive about this. Now we have this because Mother Jones reported on it. David Korn, who's the guy who also broke the 47% story during the campaign, has the tapes from an inside source, which Mitch McConnell's campaign is very upset about, partly because of what it reveals about what they were saying about Ashley Judd. So on the issue of whether they would use her depression that she talked about in her book against her, so they had some interesting words.
She's clearly, it just sounds extreme, but she is emotionally unbalanced. I mean, it's been documented. Jesse can go in chapter and verse from her autobiography about, she suffered some suicidal tendencies. She was hospitalized for 42 days, and she had a mental breakdown in the 90s.
So is that kosher to use their depression against her and the mental breakdown? Well, later in the tapes, they wind up joking about different episodes that she had, and they laugh and laugh and laugh. So Ashley Judd was, of course, quite mad about this. She put out a statement saying that they're taking depression as a laughing matter, and, it's the politics of personal destruction. Now, she's not even in the race. Now, mind you, of course, these tapes were made at a time when they thought they were probably going to run against her, okay? So now that's not the only thing they had against her. They're going to use her, what they interpreted as her interpretation of Christianity against her.
She is critical, sort of, what might be used as sort of traditional Christianity. She sort of views this as sort of a vestige of patriarchy. She says Christianity gives a God like a man, presented and discussed exclusively male imagery, which legitimizes and seals male power. It's the intention to dominate, even if that intention is nowhere visible.
So now, in reality, in her book, she talks about how she's a Christian often and prays often, etc. So that one's very sketchy. And then they were thinking of using things against her, such as her saying that she didn't want to have kids and bring kids into this world, and etc. Now, is all this fair game? Honestly, if you ask me, yes. Politics is oftentimes dirty. And if I was running against a Republican who had mental health issues, you think I wouldn't bring it up? Keep it real. I'd probably bring a 2x4. Okay, so am I surprised that Mitch McConnell, who, look, here's a guy who seems to be the least charismatic person in the entire world, right? Turtle Man, he's a ghoul, he's a goblin, right? But he's the leader of the Republicans in the Senate. You think that he got there by accident? No, he got there through two things. One, being really good at politics and being able to do wheeling and dealing behind the scenes, and by being able to do hatchet jobs like this. And number two, by selling out to the corporations and being the largest sellout. That's how you get to be the leader of the Republicans. But those things worked for him, right? And so he was going to try to bury Ashley Judd. And guess what? It worked. Ashley Judd decided not to even enter the race. And partly based on some ads that they had already run against her, even when she didn't know about these tapes that were being made behind her back. Now, they're going to ask Mitch McConnell about that, the press is. They're going to say, is this fair to use the mental health angle? Now, remember, too, that Mitch McConnell, to be fair, didn't use it. They considered using it in a meeting that they had internally. That's also a different part of the equation. Should you have at least considered that internally? I think definitely, to be honest with you. But apparently Mitch McConnell doesn't want to answer that question. That's why you have this hilarious back and forth where, if you notice, he steadfastly refuses to answer the question asked.
And was it appropriate for members of your staff to talk about Ashley Judd's bouts with depression as a potential campaign issue?
Well, as you know, last month, my wife's ethnicity was attacked by a left-wing group in Kentucky, and then apparently they also bugged my headquarters. So I think that pretty well sums up the way the political left is operating in Kentucky.
Is it fair game for you to question someone's mental health or their religious sensibilities in a strategy session like that?
Yeah, as I indicated, last month they were attacking my wife's ethnicity, and then apparently also, unbeknownst to us at the time, they were bugging our headquarters, quite a Nixonian move. This is what you get from the political left in America these
That
days.
isn't what I asked you, though. Is it in fact?
As I indicated, last week they were attacking my wife's ethnicity and apparently also bugging my headquarters, much like Nixon and Watergate. That's what the political left does these days.
So what
We're
about?
going to move to another subject.
Here's what you're apparently not going to do. Move Mitch McConnell off his talking points. Okay. However you want to take that, man. Now, did they actually bug his headquarters? No. In fact, his own staff looked for a bug, couldn't find one. But it's a really clever political strategy to say that they bugged it. Why? Because then the FBI gets involved, and they got to figure out if it was an actual staffer that works for McConnell or if someone planted a bug. And in the middle of that investigation, they're going to go to Mother Jones and they're going to say, who's your source? Now, you got to tell us who your source is, because if it was a bug, it's illegal. And hence, we got to investigate it. Oh, that's smart. Because what it does is it does two things. One, it tries to find out who the guy who's leaking this stuff to the Democrats and the liberals is inside your organization in a very clever way. And number two, it shifts the conversation away from, hey, what you were talking about in regards to Ashley Judd, is that appropriate? To, wait a minute, was it appropriate to possibly bug your headquarters? Now, Mother Jones says, we didn't bug headquarters. We don't know anything about bugging. We have a source, and we're not going to reveal that source. But it turns out the turtle's pretty clever, man. So, and right now, Ashley Judd is gone, and he doesn't have those problems. He's casting himself as the victim here, and he's basically saying, batter up. Who's next? You want to come at me? Whack-a-mole time.